Yeah. So how many participants are there in this batch? I can see someone make it simple and easy.
Actually, I'm a Pasha. I will rename myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do see Anup Krishnan. So Anup Krishnan, you're a participant or
Yes, yes, I'm a participant.
participant? Okay. Great. Okay. Okay. As far as I know, Pasha, I believe you came 1.5 year, 2 years back before.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You are right.
Yeah. You got the tools from us.
Correct,
Eight
correct. It's
eight
been
point
some time.
six. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Now, just to make you guys understand that we, or me rather, uh, for this session, we are not going with 8.6 anymore. 8.6 is an old version. So we are going to go with the BAW version, okay? And BAW is a licensed one, which which we are going to work on in the few in our lab sessions. So we're not going to do with the 8.6, but with BAW.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Good to start. All right. So before we start, so just a bit of introduction. So my name is Rahul Roy, and I have been working with not only as a trainer, but I am also someone from the IT. So I've been working with Capgemini, then with IBM, and presently I'm working with TCS. Now, my all-over experience is almost 8 years, and my relevant experience in IBM BPM is also 8 years. And I am certified in IBM BPM 8.5 version, 8.6 version, as well as I'm certified in IBM ODM. Okay. So that's all about me. So if you also can introduce yourself just by trying to understand how much you are aware of this technology, okay, and if you're already working in some other technology that also you can mention.
Yeah. So hi, this is Anup here. So I'm basically from Java technology, but recently I joined a project where BPMN is used.
Mhm.
So I am exposed to BPMN for say 2 3 months, but I want to know have a good in-depth knowledge. That's why I joined this course, and I'm also looking forward to have a certification in future on this. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, hi. Myself, I'm Pasha. Before, I never had experience on BPM, but I have an experience on SharePoint and DBA of Oracle and other technologies I have in-depth knowledge. But I want to change my platform to BPM, and I'm looking forward to go for certification also. And this been I was trying from almost 1 year, as Mr. Rahul told. Because of the time and all those things, I was not able to attend. But now I want to go forward for the things what I have to achieve. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we are going to start with the with some of the lab sessions today, and tomorrow we are going to again go back and understand the architecture. Just I mean, whatever you want. If you guys want the introduction session, like what is BPM, what is IBM BPM. So do you all know like what is BPM and where does IBM BPM stands today in the market? So all these things, are you guys aware?
Uh, I'm not sure about that. I just know
Okay.
that IBM BPM is a good tool now in the market to operate the business operations. Even I'm a little bit confused because I have seen that 8.6 tool before,
Mhm.
and I want to see how this uh, business process or processes whatever we create, how it will work in the real time. Because
Mhm.
it's not an end application, right? Generally, if you go for any technology like Android or SharePoint or Java, we create an end user application, so we can see that. But how this BPM work, I'm unable to figure it out. So
Okay.
yeah.
So for me, since I have an application already, so I can see it's a web. It ultimately it generates a web-based flow. So yeah, so I have a little bit knowledge on that. Apart from that, this BAW has cloud also, right?
Yes.
cloud version also. Yeah. So, but I'm not exposed to that yet. So, yeah, that's all.
Okay, just give me 2 minutes. I just get the PPT. So we'll start discussing about BPM today, and then going forward from tomorrow onwards, we're going to start with the lab sessions. Okay. The reason being, since many of you are not aware exactly like what BPM is and where does IBM BPM stands today in the market. So we'll discuss that, and then we'll start with the lab sessions. All right. So so Pasha, you are based on which country?
Yeah, I'm in Qatar now.
You're in Qatar. Okay.
Yeah.
And Anup.
I'm in Bangalore, India.
Okay. Western Bengal. Okay. Almost done. Just give me a minute. I hope you guys are able to see my screen.
Yes, yes.
So this is the architecture diagram of IBM BPM. And yes, it's an old architecture diagram because you can see here integration designer is there. So we are so IBM BAW is a huge thing. IBM BAW consists of BPM, it consists of case manager, ODM, integration designer, right? So many tools are there together, but we are only concerned about the process part, that is the BPM part, right? So this is the architecture diagram of the IBM BPM. Integration designer, you can see here, it's still there. If you see top right corner, we have integration designer. The reason being, initially in the older versions, we had two versions or two editions of IBM BPM. One was IBM BPM standard, and the other one was IBM BPM advanced. There is also something called IBM BPM Express. So that is something different. Express editions are, is a licensed edition, but not all the users. I mean, not say 100 users will not be able to work on that. It depends on the number of users. Features will be same, but maybe in the Express version, maybe maximum 50 users, 60 users we can use or we can create. In case of the advanced version or standard version, the number of users are much more. Now the difference between IBM BPM standard and IBM BPM advanced is that if you go and purchase a license of IBM BPM advanced, not only you get IBM process designer through which we design the process, but also we get integration designer, right? And in case of IBM BPM standard, we get the license of only IBM BPM, that is only the process designer. Now this concept is not there anymore. So advanced standard, these things are not there because now everything is under IBM BAW. If you go and purchase a license of BAW, you get everything today. You get BPM, you get integration designer, you get ODM, you get case manager. All these tools are available in BAW. Now let's discuss about this architecture diagram. What we see here in the middle, we see something called process center. Nowadays in IBM BAW, this has been renamed as workflow center. Okay. So process center, the concept is the same, but the name has changed. It has been changed to workflow center. Now, what is a process center or workflow center? Process center or workflow center is nothing but it's a container, or I would rather call it as a BPM repository. Okay, where we are creating our applications. Okay, if I need to create an application, say I'm working for a client, say Mercedes, and if I have to develop the artifacts, like I have to design the process, I have to design the services, I have to develop some objects, variables, I have to write some code. All these things are done in an application. We call it as the process application. And all these process applications are located in process center or workflow center. So it is nothing but a repository which consists of all these different applications. Not only applications, but also there is one more component called toolkit. People who have an experience in Java, you guys can relate with, application with project. What we do in Java, we first create a project, right? And then only we start developing or writing the code. So in IBM BPM also, the first and the basic thing that we do is to create a process application. And then only we can start developing our process, services, and all the other artifacts. Now, what is a toolkit? Like a process application, there is also something called toolkit, which is also available in process center or workflow center. Now, what is this toolkit? Again, if I go back to Java, you can relate this toolkit with the concept of library. Okay, if I create some reusable components, right? Say I I create some kind of object, okay, and say here Pasha is working for, say, an organization, or say for the customer Mercedes, and say Anup is working for another organization, say he's working for another automobile project, say Daimler. Now, there is a toolkit that has been created and which is being used by both these applications. Okay. Say I create a business object, or say I create a service which we want to use in both these applications. So I would go for creating this artifact in a toolkit. Okay. We'll discuss more about process applications and toolkits, but for now, if I create a process application or a toolkit, it can be managed through process center or workflow center. Process center console, if you can see at the top, there is something called process center console, which says it, through this we manage the process applications and toolkits. So definitely we have a console through which we have to log in. We have to put our credentials, and when we log in, then we find the different applications, the different process applications, and the different toolkits. Many process applications and toolkits are already provided to you by IBM BPM. Whenever you install this product, IBM BAW or IBM BPM, you get all those toolkits and applications already there. Okay, so few applications and few toolkits will always be there with you. Then we go forward and we create our own process application, our own toolkit if it is necessary. Now, what we have, we have process designer. Process designer is going to be our main tool. If I have to learn IBM BPM, then this is the tool through which I need to author, or I need to create my artifacts. Okay, artifacts as in like process, services, UI components, okay, business objects, variables. Okay, all these things can be created through process designer. Process designer are of two types. One is the desktop process designer, which is a traditional one, which is there since the version of 6.5. Right from the beginning, we are using the desktop designer. And the other designer that we are also using, that is web-based process designer. Web-based process designer opens in a browser, and desktop designer we need to download from the process center or workflow center. And then after downloading, we have to install that. Coming to the current scenario, okay, of the different projects or the accounts that are running globally all over, desktop designer has been deprecated. Okay, we are not using desktop designer anymore. The reason being, IBM product team, they have deprecated this tool, this desktop designer. The reason being, going for, there are a lot of issues that is coming through the desktop design, especially if you talk about the migration. Say today, say I'm working on a project which is based or which has been developed in desktop designer. So what we have to do, so tomorrow if desktop designer is getting deprecated, I need to convert all those items into those services or those items which can be created through web designer. So Converting is very difficult because not everything can be converted. So again, we need to create from scratch, especially the services. But yes, process and everything can be converted. Say in desktop designer, we call a process as a BPD, business process definition. But in case of a web-based designer, we call the same thing as process. Okay. Now process opens in a browser and BPD can be opened in a desktop designer. But yes, the good thing is that we can convert a BPD into a process when we are moving from or migrating from the desktop to web-based process designer. So our sessions, whatever sessions we are going to have, everything will be done on the web-based process designer because that is what we are following right now all over, all over the projects. Okay. Now, what other things can we do apart from creating any application or creating the artifacts? We can also test those artifacts from the process designer. Okay, so definitely you can understand that my process designer is something which will be there only in the development environment, right? So whenever you are purchasing the license of BAW, what we do, we install this product in various environments, right? Say we install it for the development environment, we install it for the staging environments like QA or UAT environments, then we also install it in the production environment. So now whenever you are on the development environment, that time you get a link to download the desktop process designer from the workflow center or from the process center. But whenever you move to the UAT or staging environments or production environment, that link is not available. Okay, that is the difference is that whenever you're installing this product, there is some option which we have to select while installing it for the developer environment, and for the production environment or for the UAT environment we need to select some other option. So that we will see whenever we are discussing about the installation. Okay, so going forward we will be going with the installation as well. So although everything is installed in my system, but whenever I'm going to share this tool with you guys, so you guys will also be installing this in your system. So that time I'll show you what is the difference between installation in a development environment or in the staging environment. Till now everything is clear. Any questions, guys? Please feel free to ask questions. Stop me whenever you have any doubt.
So this designer, this is being deprecated, but still available in BAW, right? To
Yes.
download.
Yes.
So, I mean, are they stopping it? Going to stop it? Any? Because you're saying
Maybe.
if somebody accidentally develops this, and not accidentally means, and then later, yeah.
No, so accidentally nothing will happen. But I mean, yes, people, uh, if they are using the desktop designer presently, so they need to make sure that whatever they have created through the desktop designer, that needs to be created also in the web-based process designer. The reason being, IBM might deprecate this from the next version of BAW completely. So nowadays, I will show you in my through my system also. If you log into BAW Process Center or Workflow Center, it shows you on the right hand side download desktop designer, but in bracket it shows you deprecated. Okay, and one more thing, this desktop process designer has not been updated or has not been upgraded to the latest version. Okay, what I'm trying to say, we are still following the 8.5.7 desktop designer even today. If you download the desktop designer from the BAW, even the version of the desktop designer is the old version, which clearly shows that they have no plan to upgrade this product, at least this part, the desktop designer part. So yeah, maybe from the next version, desktop designer will not be there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Now we can see one more tool which is there. You can see integration designer. Although we are not going to cover this in our sessions because IID is a completely separate tool, but I hope we know what is IID, because if you're working in BPM, then also that you should know what at least this integration designer does. So the example is like, say if I have multiple systems working together, okay, especially we'll see in bigger accounts, where there are multiple systems working together. Maybe there is some UI developed in, say, say Salesforce. Then you have a BPM process. Then again you have some database. Then again, say from BPM, I'm calling some external, I'm making some REST calls to some Java service to get some response. Right? So many systems are there. We have Salesforce, we have Java, we have database, we have IBM BPM. So many systems are there. So if I need to, connect all the systems together, then I can use integration designer. Integration designer, through an integration designer, I can create certain services or I can create certain application through which I can integrate multiple systems together. And the reason being, reason behind using this IID is uh, very simple. So I'm basically a Bengali. If I travel to Bangalore, if I go to Karnataka, I don't understand their language, right? Even they will also not understand what I'm speaking in Bengali. So there must be some mediator who would convert my language into their language so that they can understand. Similarly, whenever they will speak, the same mediator will convert their language into my language, right? The same thing IID also does. So whenever, say, a BPM process tries to communicate with some Java service, so our business object, whatever we have in BPM, that gets converted into a Java object. Or whenever Java is trying to send some information to us, their object is converted into our BPM object. So this conversion is being done through integration designer. Now, if you ask me that without using integration designer, can we integrate multiple systems together? Yes, it can be done. It is not necessary that every time we have to use integration designer. Depends on the complexity. Depends on the complexity of the systems. We need to consider, should we use an integration designer or should we use the normal integration techniques in IBM BPM to integrate multiple systems. So how to integrate multiple systems? Okay, like if I want to integrate a Java service or if I want to communicate with some external API, how to do all these things, we'll be covering everything in our session. Okay, whether it's a Java integration, whether it's a web service integration, whether it's a REST service integration, everything we're going to cover in our sessions. Coming to process server, if you see below, there is something called process server. Again, the name has been changed. Nowadays we call it as the workflow server. Okay, so like it is process center, now it is called as workflow center. Similarly, process server has also been changed, the name has been changed to workflow server. Now, what is process server or workflow server? Every technology needs a runtime environment, right? In Java also we have some runtime environment. That is the reason behind the application. If I run the application, I can see the result, right? Similarly, in IBM BPM also we have a runtime environment, and that we call as the process server. Without a process server, I can never run my application. Without a process server, I cannot do any development of my application. Okay. If there is no process server in production environment, then nobody will be able to access the application. The end users will not be able to access the application. So it is very important. So you can understand that what can happen without a runtime environment. So same thing, same significance. So we have process server in IBM BPM. Process server can be managed through different admin tools, whatever we have in IBM BPM. Okay, there are certain admin components or tools are there through which we can manage or we can find out what is the health of the process server. Okay, the performance of the process server, if it is low, say if the system is very slow, if the server is very slow, then there are certain tools through which we can manage them. Okay, one of them is process admin console. If you see below, there is something called process admin console. Through a process admin console, I can manage the process server. I can find out whether my process server is up and running or not. Okay. Apart from this, there are other features also which we also can find out through process admin console. Say for example, a new developer has joined our team. Okay. Now I need to give him access. I need to create the credentials for that developer because he would need some username and password to log into the process designer for doing some development. So all these credentials are created from process admin console. Okay, whether it's a developer, whether it's any business user, all the usernames and passwords can be created from the process admin console. What other things we have? There are a lot of things are there which we can do it from the process admin console, although it's an admin tool, but still we're going to cover everything in our session. Okay, we're going to cover process admin, whatever we have there. So there are many features are there, and especially if you are doing some, some deployment to some environment, all this migration of instances and everything can be done through your process admin console. Okay, so we are going to cover them in our sessions. So for now, process admin console is the component of IBM BPM through which we can manage the runtime environment, and yes, there are other features also which we're going to cover in our sessions. Process portal. Every BPM, if you purchase a license of any BPM tool, whether it's IBM BPM, whether it's Pega, whether it's Appian, everywhere you will get this portal, process portal. What is this process portal? An end user, if he wants to participate in the process portal is that component through which he has to participate in the process. Okay, say for example, if I'm creating some user task, okay, whenever I'm designing a process, the main tasks that we usually use is either uh, a human task or a user task or a system task. Okay, what is a human task or a user task? A task which will have some UI, which will have some user interface. And system task is something which is an automated task which will not have any UI component. Maybe we are doing some kind of integration with database, maybe we are updating the database table with the transactions, or maybe I'm sending some email or notifications to the different customers. This kind of things can be implemented through a system task. Now this user task, how to access them? Process portal is the component through which I can access the user task. Okay, what other things I can manage through a process portal? Process portal is like, it's like a work list for you. It will show the work list, or it will show the tasks which has been assigned to you. If I'm logging with my credentials, say if I'm a manager of say an organization, and if I'm part of many process, okay, say in an organization there can be multiple process, right? Say there can be leave application process. Say whenever some employee is submitting the leave application, the manager needs to approve that, right? So definitely we everyone, each one of us, we are working in some IT company, and each one of us, we have to log into some portal, right, to our organization portal. So same here also, process portal is just like the same. So you log in with your credentials, with the username and password. Whenever you log in, what do you find out? You find out what tasks has been assigned to you. So I can work on those tasks based on the priority. I can work on each and every task. All these things, priority and everything can be viewed from the process portal. So if I'm part of multiple processes, if I have multiple tasks to work on, so each task will have some priority like highest, high, normal, low, lowest. So depending on the priority of the task, I will work on it. Okay. So process portal is one of the most important components of IBM BPM. Guys, whatever I'm saying, especially on process admin console, process portal, I'm saying very few things, because this components has a lot of features we have to cover. So whenever we are going to do the sessions, that time I'll show you all the features whatever we have over there. Right now, since we are just going through this architecture diagram, I am just giving you the main points, or the main overview of each of this component. Okay, so whatever we discussed about process portal, there is very few, but there are a lot of things which we have to cover from process portal. Coming to WebSphere application server admin console, very important for an admin person. Okay, this tool is very important for an admin person, a person who works on the admin part or the infrastructure part of IBM BPM. This tool is very, very important for him or her. For us, for the developers, it is important, but the problem is, you will see, you might not have the access to this tool in your project. Okay, there can be a situation that you might not have the access. Only admin will have the access. The reason being, through this component, WebSphere application server admin console, or we also call it as the WAS admin console, we can directly manage the runtime environment or the process server. If you think that the server is going slow, I can log into WAS admin console and I can restart my server. Restarting a server, this option is not available in the other admin tool which we just discussed, process admin. Through there, I can only see what is the health of the server. But if I have to restart or stop the server or start the server, I can do it from the WAS admin console. I hope by now you can understand why we don't have the access to this tool, because this tool is very, very critical. Just think that if a developer logs into this tool and unknowingly he stops the server, the entire team will not be able to work on any application. If I have the access of VAS admin console of production, just think, if unknowingly someone stops the server over there, what can happen? What big loss can happen from a business point of view? That is the reason we developers, we do not have the access to VAS admin console. Okay. In many projects, you will have the access in the development environment, but definitely not for production, not for your staging environments. Okay. What other things we can do? We're going to cover one topic, very important topic in VAS admin console, that is configuring database. Every application, wherever we are doing the development, be it your any technology, be it IBM, BPM, or Java, there can be some database integration, right? I can create some database connection. I create some kind of JNDI. I create a schema through which I can, manage all the transactions or manage all the master data through some database table. So this integration or this configuration is done through the VAS admin console. Okay. So very important. I mean, there are a lot of features are there, and the person who is taking the training of IBM BPM admin has to go through all those features. Okay. For us, yes, there are few things which we should know, which are part of the VAS admin console, which we are going to cover in our sessions. Okay. So last, you see optional Microsoft add-on, so you can just ignore it because this is not a part of IBM BPM, so something which was there before. So basically it tries to it is basically like you can integrate some Microsoft Office and SharePoint, which can also be done today. So this is an optional part, not a component of not a part of IBM BPM, I would say. Okay, it's an optional part. Okay, so this is all about the architecture, and these were the components of IBM BPM. Any questions, guys, from here?
Yeah, Rahul, I
Yes.
have a small query. Like
Yeah.
when we do the design of a process within the process designer,
Mm-hmm.
and after integrating with the different APIs and everything, when it is working fine, and even we have a end user UI, okay. So how it will be shown on the production system? Means it will be similar way how it will look to us, or it will be
Um,
different.
can you please come again? Sorry, I
Uh,
missed the middle part.
what I'm saying is, like when we do a design in a
Mm,
process designer with the different types of UIs for the
mm-hmm,
what we want to see, like a
mm,
username, password, and everything. So
mm-hmm,
when it go to production system,
mm,
or when we are going to deploy it into production system, it looks
mm.
similar there. If the
Yes,
functionality is same.
everything is same. Yes,
Okay.
everything is same.
So the database which we are going to save, I mean the application which is going to save, as
Mm,
we are saying, it is a BAW now.
mm.
So it will be completely available on cloud.
Yes.
Okay. So there is no concept of standalone databases now.
Standalone database is there. No, standalone database is there. Now the thing is that, see, uh, there are ways of this tool, this license tool that we are using right now. Say, for example, the tool that I am using.
Okay.
This is not based on cloud.
Mhm.
This is standalone BAW environment. Okay.
Okay.
Now it totally depends on you. whenever you are going to purchase a license, whether you are purchasing the license on BAW on cloud or BAW the normal one, the normal BPM thing that we are using till now.
Mm.
Okay,
Okay.
so totally depends on the customer. Now if I'm going and purchasing the license of cloud, then in that case everything gets saved on the cloud and there is no standalone database over there.
Okay.
So if I talk about my project, so I am working for Morgan Stanley. We are using BAW, but we are not using BAW on cloud. We are using the BAW standard version, the normal one.
Yeah. Okay. Mhm. Thank you.
So yeah. So you get all the components, the same components you get. You get case manager, all those things are there, but only that you're not saving everything in cloud. You're using the standalone databases like DB2 or Oracle or
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Rahul, I have a question.
Yes.
Whatever we develop, we
Hmm.
can see from process portal, right?
Not exactly.
Not exactly. Okay.
Not exactly.
Depends on how we integrate, is it?
No, process portal, guys, it's a different thing. Okay, so
Okay.
whatever we develop, we can see it through process designer. Whatever you develop and deploy, that if there is some user task is there, that can be accessed from the process portal.
Oh, okay, okay. Uh, okay. But the listing of tasks there will be standardized, right? Not as per what we want, right?
Very good question. No, it can be changed. I can change the list. I can
Okay.
create my own work list in process portal.
Okay. So that is part of application design, or
That is part of application design, I will not say, because that is something totally depends on the user. Say you and me,
Mhm,
we are part or we are say belong to the same team who is going to access the same task. Say you are also a manager, I am also a manager,
mhm.
and say if someone from our team is applying for a leave, both of us we are getting the task. Okay, now whenever you log into process portal, say you want to see the work list in a different way and I want to see the work list in a different way. So I would configure that work list in process portal, not through designer. Okay, so you can understand that this is solely from the end user perspective that they can configure their work list in their own way. And this is not a part of application design. This is something completely from the end user thing.
Okay. Okay. Another question. You were saying that you are using on-premise BAW, right? So
Hmm.
in case you need to move to a cloud one, will it be easy or
Yeah,
there's a struggle there?
it's an easy, yeah, very
Easy.
easy. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah. Even from the older version 8.6, 8.5.7, also you can migrate. So if I talk about my project, we were using 8.5.6, and from there we directly migrated to 8.6 and then we moved to BAW in 1 year. We did that 2020. So migration is very easy. I mean, within the BPM, if you are staying within the IBM product, so whether it's a BW on cloud or BW the normal version, so everywhere the migration is very simple, not very issue. Okay, so we have some time. So let's start a bit about the lab session. We'll discuss. We'll see the process center and the applications and toolkits. We will discuss on that, and then I'll show you a bit of the process designer, and we'll complete today's session. Okay. Tomorrow onwards, we are going to start with the lab sessions, and please send me your email IDs. You can see there is some chat, so you can just ping your email IDs. I will share this tool with you guys, and if you want to install this in your system, I can help also. So tomorrow we can do the installation, and then we can proceed with the lab sessions, like designing a process and all these things. Okay, we are we are good. Okay, all right. Now, so guys, this is the workflow center. Okay, so you can see. So the URL, if you see at the top, it starts with HTTPS followed by double slash. Then what we have? We have the host name and the port number. Okay. So this is a host name, and 9443 is the port number. Usually IBM BPM, whenever you're installing, it takes this port number only, 9443. And then we have the process center. Okay. If I try to access tomorrow process portal, it is the same URL, host number, host name, port number remains the same. Only the name will change. I will just change this to portal. Okay. Similarly, if I want to go to process admin, I'm going to change this name from process center to process admin. Okay. Rest remains the same, no change. So I will log in with my credentials now, guys. Whatever components we discussed, okay, be it the process center, be it your was admin console, be it the process admin console, be it the process designer, everywhere you need credentials to log in. Okay, we cannot access these components without the credentials. And from where we can create the credentials? Process admin, right? So whenever I install this product, so while installing, it will ask you for some admin credentials. So we create the admin credentials while installing the product only. But after you have installed the product, they we need to create some users, right, who will be doing the development or who are going to access the application from an end user perspective. So all those users are being created through the process admin. So one of the user that I created is Rahul, and I will log in with the credentials, with my credentials, and will be able to see the workflow center now. Okay, so it's slowly coming up. Yeah, so this is the workflow center or the process center. Okay, now what you see over here, these are all the different process applications. Okay, now one of the application you see right at the top, it says BPM sandbox. So this is something which I created. Apart from this, whatever you see, procurement sample, hiring sample advanced, discover UI sample, all these process applications are being provided to us by IBM product team. The reason being, tomorrow if I have to refer some code or if I have to refer some design, I can go inside these applications and I can see how the process has been designed, how the user interface has been designed. So it's like a kind of sample project that they have provided to us. So you can refer them at any point of time. Okay. What is process application? Process application is the main container inside which we create all the different artifacts like processes, services, business objects, variables. We write various codes. Okay. Everything can be created inside a process application. Whatever we deploy to some environment, say production environment or testing environment, we actually deploy version of this process application. So here also we have version management like you have in other technologies, like Java also has its own version management system. The different technologies will have their own version management system. Similarly, IBM BPM also has its own version management system. We call this as snapshot. Okay, we'll discuss more about these terms slowly. Okay, so just trying to make you guys familiar with these real terms that we use in IBM BPM. So the version management system in IBM BPM, we call it as snapshot. And how we create a snapshot? We create a snapshot of this process application. Okay, we go inside this process application. There is an option to create a snapshot, and we can create a version of that application. And the same version we can deploy in any environment, staging environment or production environment. In both cases, we can deploy the same snapshot. Now what we see here, toolkits. You see at the top there are four tabs: process app, toolkits, servers, admin. Okay. Process app is where you see all the process applications. If I want to create a new process application, I have to go on the right hand side. You see there's a palette on the right hand side. The first option says create new process app. So if I have to develop something again, if I want to develop a new application for some customer, the first thing that I would do is to create a new process application. And then only I will continue with the development. Okay. Now say Anup installs IBM BPM tomorrow, and say Pasha has also installed IBM BPM in his own system. Now Anup has developed something, some application, and Pasha says that that I want that application. You share that application with me, and I would like to add that application in my process designer. How can that be done? So obviously there is some concept of export and import. So I can create a version of my application, whatever I've developed till now, and I take a snapshot, and that snapshot can be exported. I can export the snapshot. I can share that snapshot. So like Anup will export the snapshot and will share it with Pasha, and Pasha in his server he can import that process application through what option? This is the option: import process app. So using this option, I can import any process application in my environment. Okay. So yes, it's important. That is important, like especially if I want to do some knowledge transfer, some kind of cross training. So in that case, I can share my process application with someone else, and he would import that in his system. Download desktop process designer, exactly the option which we were talking about a few minutes back. So like I said you that this option is available in my process center. Okay. So whenever you try to download it, you get this kind of update from the IBM product team. They are saying that the desktop process designer is deprecated and will be withdrawn at a future date. It is superseded by the web process designer, which offers end-to-end process authoring. Okay. So obviously you can still go and use this desktop designer, but you have to keep this in mind that if I'm using this tomorrow, I might have to leave this tool and have to come back to the web-based designer, because this tool can be deprecated from the next version. Okay. So still, if you want to use, you can download it. If you click on OK, this will get downloaded, and after downloading, again you need to install it. Okay. That is the overhead for any developer. So web designer, if you install the IBM BPM product, okay, in your system, web designer will be available from that time only. No separate installation is required for web designer, but for a desktop designer, again separate installation is required. Okay. Now what we have next, we have toolkits. So like I was telling that that if I want to create some kind of library where I need to put some reusable items over there. Say there is some variable which can be reused by multiple process applications. Or I'll give very easy examples. Say text box, text area, all these different controls, right? So obviously, if there are multiple applications, all the applications will be using this different UI components. So what I can do, I can create a toolkit where I can add all these different controls, and this toolkit I can add in all the process applications and I can use it. Okay. You see something called here UI toolkit. So nowadays we are using this UI toolkit in every process application. So this UI toolkit, it consists of all the different UI controls like uh, text boxes, text areas, data tables, drop downs, type ahead, okay, radio buttons, all these things are available inside this UI toolkit, and all this different controls are created using AngularJS, so which gives a very good look to your UI. And we are definitely going to cover UI toolkit in our sessions. So today, if you are working on a complete BPM project, UI toolkit is a must. So we are using the UI toolkit only. Previously, in the older versions of IBM BPM, if I go back to 8.5.6, 8.5.7, 8.5, we used to use responsive coaches. This one. Okay. You can see again, this is also deprecated. Okay. The reason being it is deprecated because all the controls in this responsive coaches toolkit are made up of Dojo. Okay. And Dojo is deprecated, although you can, if you are aware of Dojo coding, so you can definitely do Dojo coding in IBM BPM, but Dojo coding is deprecated. So that is the reason we are using this UI toolkit. Okay. So it has got more controls than what we had before. So nowadays we have more controls over here. More UI components are available. Like for example, type ahead was not there before, so we had to create a coach view, we had to create a UI component, and we had to implement it. But nowadays type ahead is itself available inside this UI toolkit, so we can just drag and drop, and we need to do some configuration, and then we can use it in our UI. Okay, so like this you have the different toolkits. So common component is something which I had created. Okay, apart from this, whatever you see, responsive portal components, SAP guided workflow, all these are available, all these things are being provided to us by IBM BPM. Okay, these are all the things. Whenever you install the IBM BPM or IBM BAW product, all these toolkits will be available to you. Okay, each of this toolkit has got their own significance. For example, content management is used if you have any document management system integration in your application. That time I will be going for content management. Dashboards, lot of people, lot of projects, they use this dashboard toolkit. I remember in one of my project which I worked with Capgemini. That time I was working in a project called Volkswagen Group of America. So they had an implementation, that they used to create, we had to create some reports, and there was some kind of dashboard. And that dashboard, the customer can access at any point of time. And that the dashboard will show the customer that for the last 5 years, how many, say, uh, how many car has been sold. Maybe a batch has gone out maybe in the last say 6 months. So how many cars has been sold in that batch? Okay, how many had some problem, how many had issues with brake, how many had issues with the tire. Okay, this kind of reports we created for a customer. And for creating those reports, there are components like pie chart, bar chart, line chart. All these different components are available inside this dashboard toolkit. Okay, now I will not say that you need a separate understanding about this dashboard toolkit. No, if you are understanding coding, if you understand the coding properly, how to do it in IBM BPM, any toolkit, whatever you see here, any toolkit you can use for your implementation. Okay, so coding is important in IBM BPM, unfortunately. So there are some BPM tools where that there is no coding at all, but in IBM BPM there is coding. And if you are uh, able to grab how the coding is being done in IBM BPM, then any toolkit, whatever you see here, whether it's a dashboard or it's a content management, you can use them and you can also write the code. It's very simple. Okay. So this is my process apps and toolkits. Coming to server. Now the concept of this server is basically, some online offline deployment. There is a concept of online deployment, offline deployment. So there are projects where some online deployment mechanism is being followed. I will not say that every project follows that. 90% of the project follows offline deployment. Offline deployment is the regular deployment that we do. Like what we usually do, we say we are working on a process application. We take a snapshot, we create an installation package of that snapshot. That can be done from this process center only. Okay, and then the installation package, we keep it in some remote location, right? That is what we do. We, with the help of WinSCP, we try to move from our location to a remote location. And then we inform the infra team that, hey, we have kept the file in this location, please deploy it. And what they would do, they would open their deployment environment. With the help of certain commands, they will deploy it in the environment. Okay. And the other offline mechanism is like, a lot of projects, like even in my project, automated deployment is being followed. What is automated deployment? So basically we create a snapshot, we download the snapshot to some location. And there is some kind of, at the background, after every 15-20 minutes, there is some command which continuously runs. Okay, and whenever it finds that there is some file in that location, it will automatically deploy that. So you can understand automation, how it has come. Even the deployment is also happening in an automated way these days. So there is no manual intervention at all. So like this, there is something also called online deployment, where you add a server over here, and whenever you add an offline server, automatically after adding it, it becomes active. And whenever you just need to deploy it, just you move from this your process application to this server. So I haven't come across any online deployment till now, and a lot of projects did not follow the online deployment. The reason being, at times it create issues. So migration doesn't happen properly. uh, Migration means, say, whatever cases I have created in the old version, I have to migrate that to the new version also, right? So this migration doesn't happen properly. A lot of issues have come. That is the reason we don't use the online deployment. But if I can tell you, online deployment is the easiest one. For online deployment, you don't have to know commands. You don't have to know anything. Just need to configure a server over here. But since we have faced a lot of issues in the online deployment, you can also read all these things in the rate books, IBM rate books, which is available in the internet. You can find it out there. You will see the difference between offline and online deployment. Okay. So it's more of an infrastructure thing. That is the reason, even I also don't have the entire concept of online deployment, because mostly I have done offline deployment and automated deployment. So I'm aware how to deploy offline, but online deployment is something which I haven't come across, and there is something which is also not followed in many projects. Last but not the least is admin. So basically, you know that whenever you are installing this IBM BPM product, there are certain groups that are also created. Okay, out of the box groups. I would use the term out of the box. Something which is part of BPM from before. Not there is not something which I have customized. One of the group, or you can see here, there are two groups. One is TW admin and TW author. Usually, what happens when a new developer joins in the team, the credentials are created for that developer, right? And what we also do, we add that user under TW author. Why? So that he can go and do the development. If I don't keep the developer in this TW underscore author, he can never log into process center. He can never access any application. He can never create any application and can never do any development. So I have to make sure that if some developer is joining my team, I have to add him in this group called TW underscore author. Similarly, TW underscore admin. If I have to access tools like process admin, was admin console, so I have to be a part of this team. Usually, the developers are also part of TW underscore admin. Okay, because there are certain components which cannot be accessed if I'm not part of this tool, if I'm not part of this group. Now, we discussed about process admin, we discussed about was admin console. There is also one component which can be navigated from the process admin called the process inspector. Very, very important for us, uh, be it from the development perspective, be it, after you develop, you have deployed the product you've deployed the application to some staging environment. Now, whenever the cases are getting created, whenever the instances are getting created, I can inspect on each and every instance and their data through process inspector. So if I'm not part of TW underscore admin, again, I will not be able to access this component. Okay. So we have to be part of both these tools. So if I am part of TW underscore admin, and you can see there is a checkbox before, right? Admin, there is a checkbox. Here also there is a checkbox. So if I enable a checkbox for TW underscore author, which means the users who are part of TW underscore authors, they also become an admin. And whatever admin work can be done through the workflow center, that can be done if I'm part of TW underscore author right now. Okay. Not so relevant. I mean, not that important. It's not something that we have to know if I have to do some development. But yes, it's good to know all these things. So mostly this thing you are going to use, and toolkits. Servers and admin are mostly for the infrastructure, or for someone, who takes care of the housekeeping activities. So he would go and say down, add a server, or create some users from here and add them as an admin. So all these things they will be doing. For us, what is important is to understand the concept of process application and to understand the concept of toolkit. And how I can use a toolkit inside a process application, that is also important. Okay. So let's go inside a process application. So BPM Sandbox is a process application which I had already created before. And there are few artifacts which are available inside this process application. But for us, from tomorrow onwards, I'm going to create a new application for our batch, for this batch. And there inside we're going to go and develop or create the different artifacts. Okay. So for now, let's see this application, how a process application looks like. So you see next to your BPM sandbox, first of all, there is something in bracket we see BPMS, right? Now, and for every process application you see, there is something in bracket, right? Procurement sample we see ST+PS1. So what are all these things? We call this as the process app acronym. Okay. Process application acronym. Acronym is nothing but it's an identifier of your process application. Okay. It's a unique identifier. And by the word unique identifier, you can understand that if I create two process applications separately, they should not have the same acronym. They will have their own unique acronym, right? So it is just that it is an unique identifier of the process application. Whenever you are creating the process application, initially if I go back to the older versions, 8.6, 8.5.7, 8.5.6, whenever we created an application, we also had to create the process acronym parallelly. Okay, so it was also a manual task. But nowadays in BAW, whenever you are creating a process application, whenever you're naming that application, automatically the acronym gets generated and it is also displayed to you. Okay, so this comes whenever you're creating some process application. Similarly, toolkits also have toolkit acronym. Okay, you see again next to every toolkit there is some acronym in brackets. So again the same thing is that whenever we are creating some toolkit, automatically this acronym gets generated. Okay, and again multiple toolkits will never have the same acronym. Acronym is again, by the term acronym we can understand, is a unique identifier for a toolkit or for a process application. Now, if I am a developer, if I have to start my development, then I would, you see, next to every process application, there is something called Open in Designer. Okay. So whenever I click on it, it will take me inside this process application. Okay. It's taking some time. Yeah. So this is my process application. And on the left hand side, I can see there are various artifacts like processes, user interface, services, events, teams, data. So many artifacts are there. And all these things are basically different components that can be created inside IBM BPM. Like we can see process. So if I have to create a new process, I have to click on this plus sign next to processes and I get this option of process. If I want to find out if already some process is created, so you see I have clicked on processes and I can see there is some process which has already been created from before. Okay. Similarly, user interface also, if you have to create something new, anything, any new artifact you have to create, you have to click on the plus sign. And if some artifact is already created and you want to view them or you want to edit them, then you have to click on them, you have to click on these components, and then you can find out what services or what processes or interfaces are already created from before. Okay, so these things definitely we're going to cover tomorrow. We're going to start off with designing a process. We'll understand what are the different activities that can be added in a process, and going forward we are going to definitely, we're going to improve this process by adding more and more features, more and more components. And also, like, after a few days after we are covering almost 50% is done, I'm going to provide you guys with a use case which you guys have to implement at your end, and there will be a demo which where you need to provide the demo of that application. Okay. Again, at the end of all the sessions, again another use case will be provided to you guys. Again, you need to complete that and show me as a demo. Okay, we are good. Any questions, guys?
Rahul, since me and Pasha both are interested in certification also, so any tips on certification during the such topic you are covering
Yes.
would be helpful.
Yeah. So the sessions will be completely, the certifications you will see if you have gone through any sample questions. So certifications are mainly based on the practical things. Okay. So whatever lab sessions we are covering, every lab session is very, very important, because the way we are going to cover, even in your certifications also the questions would come like that. Okay, say for example there can be some kind of scenarios also. So say there is a scenario which needs to be implemented, so they will give you four options, so you have to select any one of them. So this kind of certification, this kind of questions do come, and definitely our lab sessions, whatever we'll be doing in the next, say, 30 hours or 35 hours, we are going to follow based on the certification things only. And yes, I will definitely share certain questions, certain dumps with you, but not right now. I will share it right at the end of our sessions are done. Then only I'm going to share the dump. So let's understand first, and then we can find out how the sample questions and what kind of questions do usually come in a certification.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, Rahul, I have one small question.
Yes,
Do we can add the users from VAS also, VAS admin console?
we can add the users. No, it cannot
Through
be
no,
done.
we can't add, right?
No,
And also, is it a is it a way that, I mean, is it the only way that we will add the users through process
no.
admin console, or we can add from database also?
From database, see, at the end of the day, everything is a database here. But
Mhm.
yes, the question that you asked initially, can we add the users to VAS admin console? I can understand from where this question is coming.
Okay.
Obviously, it's not possible that we go and create 1,000 business users credentials from process admin. That is a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
So what we usually do, we configure the employee directory of the organization in
Mhm.
VAS admin console through LDAP.
Right.
So automatically those users, whatever we have, whatever they are available in the employee directory, automatically they get synced up with the IBM BPM. And where it gets stored, BPM DB. So whenever you're installing this IBM BPM, there are different databases that also gets created. So one of them is BPM DB or product database. So whenever you're creating these users or configuring them through the LDAP, all the usernames and passwords and all the different attributes of that user get stored in that database.
Okay.
So even the same thing, I mean, if I'm creating a user from the process admin also, again the same user gets added to the product DB only. So database is there where everything is being maintained. Now,
Mhm.
if you're asking me that can we create an application database and store the users over there, and then we can get it from them, get it from the DB, that can be done. But ideally, we don't do it. I mean, ideally, we configure the LDAP in use.
Mhm. Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, this thing, I'm very sorry, this thing will not be covered because LDAP configuration would need complete, admin concepts. So those kind of concepts, obviously, you can understand. So I don't have. So as a developer, I never did this thing. But yes, database configuration, all these things will be, I'll be showing assumptions.
Yeah, Rahul, I have one more query.
Hmm.
Like in general, if we are deploying any application, before what I saw, if it is SharePoint or if it is Oracle, anything, when it
Hmm.
is going to the production system, when we integrate into their computers,
Hmm.
so it doesn't have any connection between the client side as well as the production side. I mean, We don't have any connectivity between the developer side and the production side.
Correct.
So here in this BPM, so this is a end users web page. What we are doing here, like coaches, what we do here, develop, design, and
Yes.
everything. So it will be the final UI for the production system, right?
Correct. Yes.
And
That's my final view. Yes. Now, if you talk about integrations, like which I'm trying to understand by question, say, if I form the question this way, say, that I have developed an application in a development environment.
yes,
Now, the same application I'm moving to production. How the different systems will work together over there.
yes, yes, correct.
So in that way, obviously, I'm going to integrate database again. I have to do the database configuration again in my production. So if I'm using Oracle in my staging environment or in my development environment, I'm going to configure Oracle again, going to the VAS admin console of production environment.
Okay,
And same way, again, the separate JNDI schema will be created, and I'm saving my data over there.
okay, okay,
So every environment will have a separate, databases, and every configuration is to be done separately for every environment.
okay, okay. So the database and this BPM UI will be the full package for the client side for the production
Yes,
system.
yes,
Okay. So
yes,
whatever we do here, this will be like the final production page for them where they will work.
yes, yes.
And as they are the users, they will not see all the things what we see here, like process admin,
No,
whatever the designs, services, they will not see. They will see only
they
the
will,
final portal, like
yeah,
portal page.
process portal. Yes,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
will only have the access to process portal.
Okay.
Now, the business head or the IT head of the organization can have access to process admin
Mhm.
because, like I said, there are certain features which we haven't discussed today, which we will discuss on our process admin session. There are few things which can be done by the IT head or by the business head in the
Okay.
process admin.
Great. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other queries or doubts, guys? We can discuss on that. On the intact training, you can, if you have any doubts or anything, we can discuss.
Rahul, I have a question. That
Hmm.
means when the code gets deployed in, say, UAT environment, the DBs will be different, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, so we will be configuring those here only. That when you go to that environment, use this DB, or you will have the same name to refer, and the name will be overridden and that
Hmm.
individual environment. How it will
Hmm.
be?
Hmm. Hmm. So the concept is, guys, whatever components we have seen here, right, in the architecture diagram, process center, process admin, VAS admin, all these things, that basically what happens. Say I am a customer, say I'm a client. Today, I go to IBM and I tell that, hey, I want to buy this IBM wearable product. I want to purchase a license of this IBM wearable. So I buy the license, right? Now, while purchasing the license, they would ask us that, that you are purchasing the license. So in how many systems you want to install it? How many environments you want to create? So I will tell them that, hey, I want to create 4 environments. What are they? So they are development environment. I need 2 staging environment. UAT, I need one UAT, I need one QA, and then I need one production. Okay. Which means I am telling this that this product that I am purchasing it from you, this license, I will install it in 4 different environments. Okay. That is the first thing that happens. Next is the infrastructure configuration. So this product will be installed in all the 4 different environments. So definitely different host names will be there, port numbers will be there, and there say install. Now the concept is that you're saying the database, how we will access the database. So I am a developer. I can see the data is getting saved in my database in Oracle. Now what will happen in case of production? In production also, a separate database will again be installed. Again Oracle have to install in that environment. Now the concept is automatically how it can happen. So I deploy my application to production automatically. That production code it tries to access with the production database. How will happen? How will that happen? There are few concepts, right, which we have in this IBM BPM. For example, there is something called environment variables. Now we guys are discussing only about database. Now I'll give an example. In my development environment, just like try to understand. Say there is a Java service. Okay. Now I am consuming some data from the Java service. Okay. I am calling the Java service. I am getting some response from the Java service, and I am using that response in my flow, in my process. Now here also you can think that hey, if I deploy this application to production, will my code will try to access the same Java service in development environment? No, because they also will deploy their code to production, right? They will also they deploy their Java service to production environment. So that will have a different URL now. REST URLs, right? Say I'm making some REST calls to some Java service. So I will configure all these REST URLs in a variable in IBM BPM called environment variable. So I'm saying so many of things, so much of things. So I come to this point. There's something called environment variable in IBM BPM through which you can configure the different environment JNDIs, the different environment REST URLs, everything can be configured over here. Automatically, whenever you deploy your BPM code to production, automatically it will take the configuration of production environment. Whenever I deploy my code to UAT, automatically it will take the configuration of the UAT environment. Okay, this way it happens with the help of environment variable.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Rahul, I have one query not related to the subject.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
Now, until now, I never had this BPM. This is the first time I'm going through the BPM. So,
mm,
if I want to crack the interview,
mm.
so is only BPM learning BPM is enough, or should I go for any other technologies also along with
Uh,
this?
how much experience you have, Pasha?
I have around you can say 10 plus years in different, not other technology, not in this.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you should be good with BPM only if you're trying to work in BPM. So you should learn BPM. But you know that more knowledge you have, more experience you have. So mostly your questions would come from the process layer.
Hmm.
So usually a developer who has an experience of 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, we make them work for the UI part.
Yeah.
And as we go senior, 7 years, 8 years of experience, 9 year, 10 years, so
Hmm.
we go into process level more. Okay.
Okay.
So for you, the questions will be more of like scenario based questions.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
they will give you scenarios to solve. So this way you have to prepare for
So
the
if I
interview.
go for 3 plus year experience, I will be having mostly from UI, right?
Mostly from UI and mostly definition based questions. I will not say that they will not give you any scenario.
Mm-hmm.
They might give you scenario, but that would be very less. Okay.
Okay, okay.
There is one topic. This is something I'll tell both of you. There's one topic which we have to cover, and it's the most complex topic. That is events.
Events.
Event is one of the most complex topics, and it takes 3 days to complete events. Okay.
Yeah.
So, if you have an experience of 3 years, 5 years, 6 years,
Hmm.
mostly they will ask you from this events. A lot of questions will come. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Understood.
So, don't worry. We'll be
Okay.
covering everything. I will give you my experience. 4 5 years back,
Hmm.
I was, before while sitting for the interview, I used to be very afraid because when I had 2 years of experience, I sat for an interview,
Hmm.
and I didn't go through. That was for IBM, and they asked me all scenario-based questions. So that time I had only 2 years of experience, so I could not go through.
Yeah.
So for the last 2 weeks, I have given almost like 5 interviews,
Hmm.
and I have cracked all.
Great, great.
So everything was your scenario based. Nothing is no definitions.
Hmm.
What is coach? What is process? Nobody will ask us. So people will ask you more about that. Say this is a solution.
Hmm.
How you are going to implement this requirement in IBM? This is a query from a customer. How you implement it in IBM?
Yes.
So
Okay.
this kind of questions more will come, and we'll discuss all these things in our sessions. Okay.
Yeah, great.
See,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
okay. Few things I will just say. So, like we know that we are going to start our session at 8 a.m. IST every day. So I might join 5 minutes late as I have to drop my wife. Okay, so like today also I joined late, so 5 past 8. So I would be joining somewhere between like this 8 or 5, 8 or 10, and we'll have our session till 9:30 if you guys are good.
Uh, at what time you said?
Like, can we have session from 8 to 9:30 every day?
Yeah, yeah, fine. That's good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Great.
Okay. Okay then. Okay then, guys. If you don't have any questions, we can drop off. We will
Yes.
connect back tomorrow again, same time.
Great.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Rahul.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.